Welcome to episode 6 of Build, Grow, Exit, a series by Prospera Ventures. I'm Bianca.
And I'm Spencer.
Let's dive in.
As a business owner, you have a need for clarity. You need to understand what's going on, not only because you're looking to sell, but because that's how you run a profitable business. It's easy to get lost in the day-to-day and lose sight of the big picture, and that's a problem. You might feel successful, but do you know where your business really stands? Do you know the financials? What's your P&L look like? What's your balance sheet look like? All good questions.
So we're going to share a 3-pillar framework that we use in our portfolio companies to assess businesses in under 30 minutes.
This isn't just a tool for selling, it's a way to proactively manage your business and spot opportunities or risks before they become a problem. And I have to tell you, I cannot even begin to express how many people, and myself included, have been in a position where they've got a business that they're running on the day-to-day. It seems profitable, everything seems good, but when it comes down to it, we can't tell you what the specific KPIs are. Like, if an investor asks, shoot, I don't know. And that's not a position you want to be in. So let's dig in and show you how to measure that quickly. Pillar number 1, financial health. Why does this matter? Well, obviously, a business exists to make money. And, quite frankly, buyers pay for proven, predictable financial performance. Clean financials show not only past success, but they also give a good clue to what the future performance and what the future opportunities can look like. So it's very, very, very important that you know what those financials are and that you can clearly measure what's going on and where you think you can go. The key question is who or what process is ultimately responsible for helping you track this in your business. You need to be able to take a glance at a dashboard or spreadsheet and understand what's going on. So is it your bookkeeper? Is it you? Nowadays, is it ChatGPT? I haven't figured that out yet. If you have, comment below. I want to know. But the whole point is, how are you gathering this information and making it easily digestible for you? Who understands what levers to pull once you have that information? And unfortunately, things aren't always where we want them to be. So once you have the information, you need to understand what levers to pull in order to change it. If you need to goose your performance in, well, of course, I was going to say one direction or the other, but I think we all know we want it to go up. So it's all about understanding A, who is responsible, what is responsible for getting you the information, and then B, what do you do with it?
Thankfully, we've created a resource just for you so you can dive down your own financial health and check off what's working, what's not working, and how to figure out if it's healthy or not for your business. So for each of these pillars, we've got a resource below for you to download. Let's move on to pillar 2.
And pillar 2, operational health. Super important, and also important that the professionals talk about it.
Why, thank you. Why it matters. A business that is heavily dependent on its owner is not only a major burnout risk for the owner and the business itself, but a liability to the buyer. So what are we going to look out for? This pillar focuses all on how the business will function without you. So we're going to ask questions like, can you leave for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, without your business completely shattering? Do you have processes documented? Is there someone to take over certain functions of certain roles?
The real question is, how do you measure that before you have to test it for yourself? And we've seen people test this in real time, and it can get ugly. What happens if you decide like, hey, yeah, I think my business is good to go, and it can last without me, and you leave for a couple of weeks, and it happens that you're on an island in, I don't know, Barbados or Greece, and you don't have service, and then you come back, and it's a shit show, quite frankly. The idea here is we need to be able to measure this and figure out, is your business in a place for you to be able to leave, hang out on a beach, and not worry about it before you actually try to do it?
Doing this test in real time is possible. Leave for a week, cut off your phone, and do a test to see what breaks. If something is breaking, you know something needs to be fixed. A person, a process, something needs to be put in place for your business to work. Do this for a few months and see if what you're doing is working.
And I recommend only doing it at a week at a time, because if you do it for the whole month, it might take a year or so to replace or repair what was broken. So yes, test in real time in small doses. Let's move on to pillar 3, market health. Why does this matter? Well, quite frankly, your business exists within a couple of different ecosystems, if you will. What place does it hold within the world as a whole? And then, of course, there's the smaller environment. There's your industry, the niche within your industry, and then there's internal, your actual business and how that's interacting with its customers, etc. So you have to look at the whole picture, from the big all the way down to the small. Hence, market health. How do you stand within the market? It's important to understand this.
This can be anything to being recession resistant, looking at your brand and your competitive advantage, looking at your customer health, whether or not you're too concentrated or maybe even too diversified, but I don't think I've run into a company that's been too diversified quite yet. And so our worksheet will outline different steps between the market health and how you can analyze how healthy your business really is within the market. A good example would be a market that we were a part of for quite a few years, which was the plant-based food market. We look at external factors like the macroeconomics, right, in terms of where was plant-based food going. Well, during COVID, a lot of people were not going to pay $7 or more for something that was just an alternative if you could get something that's cheaper. Internal strengths, though, if you had a really good brand, let's say you were an Impossible and everyone knew the brand, you can get it at restaurants, on the shelves, super easy competitive advantage there, you are more likely to get bought. Now, customer health is interesting when it comes to a food brand itself because you're probably selling to retailers versus restaurants and even distributors. And having a concentration in one area or another can really conflict. For instance, during COVID, all the restaurants shut down. So if you were doing a majority of work in the restaurants but not in retail, you were hurting pretty bad. So it's really good to look at your customer health and make sure you're diversified.
Excellent points. And I would add just a couple of things to also consider, because there were even more nuanced, I would say, macro and micro factors that play into whether somebody in the plant-based space was successful or not. There were a bunch of competitors that jumped in right around the time that plant-based was on fire. Because
Right
of
before
course,
COVID.
Right before COVID. And then a little bit right after COVID, there was a tiny little blip too, because everyone was afraid of eating eggs and was COVID the result of meat? And I mean, there were all kinds of crazy theories going on. But the point is, there are a ton of competitors that jumped in and tried to launch plant-based alternative brands right at the same time. And whenever you rush something that quickly, what happens? You don't do your best work. So there were a lot of bad products that hit the market, which impacted consumer sentiment because they would try a plant-based product and it would taste like crap. And so they didn't want to try the next plant-based product, right? Like, you can get as nuanced as that when looking at the macro environment for what it is that's impacting your business and your market. And then when it comes to the internal stuff, you can also get as granular as looking at what is your margin for each one of the different sales channels that you have. If you're diversified in your customer base and in your revenue streams, fantastic. But if you have a 5% net margin on one of those revenue streams, that's going to be significantly discounted in anybody's eyes, probably your own too, but definitely any potential buyer's eyes as compared to revenue streams that have a much higher net margin. So details matter, and nuances on the macro scale also matter. All right, so let's sum it all up real quick. We want to make sure you have a clear path forward, and you don't necessarily need to understand exactly step by step what to do by what we just talked about. The idea here is to give you the big picture in terms of what should you be thinking about. And then we also want to provide you with that easy step-by-step simple action plan to follow so that you can easily put together in under 30 minutes the picture of what your business looks like, which is why if you go to the description below, you can download our free resource, which walks you through it in easy, simple English, step by step. This is how I get the picture of my business in 30 minutes or less.
Please like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications button below, and follow us on all our socials. We don't mind being stalked. And of course, if you have any questions or comments specifically on this episode, please comment below. We are happy to reply back.
And yeah, this is the weird circumstance where we're actually asking for stalkers. Thanks for joining. We hope this was helpful. Look forward to seeing you next time.